Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is one of the most studied approaches in therapy. It's also one of the most used approaches, with most therapists pulling at least some aspects of CBT into their practice and their work with clients. In this video, we're going to learn a bit about Aaron Beck, a leader in the world of CBT. We're going to discuss some of the influences in his life that led him to his work in this area, as well as work toward a better understanding of some of the principles that he felt were important in CBT. Before we get to that, my name is Keegan. I have a master's degree in counseling, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. I make videos like this to help you better understand psychology, counseling, and the world of mental health. Aaron Beck was born in 1921 and would eventually become a psychiatrist. He became well known for his work on cognitive therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, as well as his research on depression. Prior to becoming a psychiatrist, Beck had early experiences in life that would influence his work in the area of mental health. He was the youngest of 4 children, but before he was born, 2 of his siblings passed away during the influenza pandemic in 1919. After their deaths, Beck's mother suffered severe episodes of depression. Beck himself also struggled with depression at different points in his life. As a child, he broke his arm and had an extended recovery during which he was hospitalized. Due to this, he missed school and was eventually held back. These experiences resulted in him having thoughts about himself that he was stupid and dumb, and that he would eventually have to go on to work through. Because of the experiences that he had with depression in his life, Beck went on to have this be an area of focus in his work. As he began his research on depression, he originally set out to prove some of the theories of Sigmund Freud. However, his results led him to new discoveries, and these were often not in line with Freud's theories. One of Beck's discoveries is that people with depression are often struggling with feelings of defeat, failure, and loss. As he made discoveries like these that led him away from some of Freud's theories, Beck began to focus more on the cognitive aspects of depression. He found that people who struggle with depression often have biased interpretations of what's happening in their life. In other words, he found that when people were struggling with depression, this seemed to alter or change the way that the person would view what's happening to them in their life. Beck felt that this was because the depression caused the person to view the world, themselves, and the future in a more negative light. Beck has made many contributions to the field, and one of these is the cognitive triad. This triad illustrates what we just discussed, how negative thoughts feed off of each other to support depression. The triad highlights the negative views that the person has about the world, themselves, and the future, and helps to illustrate how these feed off of each other to affect the person and the depression they're experiencing. Through his research, Beck discovered his theory of depression. He said that experiences in childhood and adolescence result in the person having negative thoughts or schemas about the world. Later on, when they come across situations that resemble these negative experiences from earlier in life, some of these negative schemas and thoughts come in, and this is what can then influence a depression beginning. From there, the depression is then supported by the person's negative thoughts about themselves, the world, and the future. Over time, Beck developed a variety of instruments to help measure the experiences of people. This includes the Beck Hopelessness Scale that helps to assess a person's level of hopelessness, the Beck Depression Inventory, which assesses and measures depression, and the Beck Self-Concept Test, which asks a person to rate themselves compared to other people that they know. Next, let's discuss some of the different aspects that make up Beck's cognitive theory. But first, if you're enjoying this video and finding it helpful, please help me out by giving it a like and subscribing. When it comes to cognitive behavioral therapy and Beck's work in this area, there were many things that he felt were important principles of CBT. These include concepts like automatic thoughts, cognitive schemas, cognitive distortions, and more. Let's discuss each of these in a bit more detail to help you better understand them. When it comes to automatic thoughts, these are spontaneous thoughts that emerge in our mind throughout day-to-day life. Automatic thoughts emerge without effort, and they are thoughts that we don't put any work into bringing about, they just appear. Beck found that people who are struggling with depression or other mental health conditions often have automatic thoughts that are more inaccurate in some way. And he found that the automatic thoughts for these people often tend to be more extreme or distorted in some way. Cognitive schemas are another area of Beck's work that should be highlighted. With cognitive schemas, the idea is that throughout life, we're taking in all sorts of new information. To help manage this, we develop schemas in our mind. These are frameworks to help us process and make sense of information as it's happening. These schemas can be very helpful as they can allow us to more quickly interpret the information that we're taking in, and they can also provide us with general ways of thinking about the world. However, Beck found that for people who are struggling with depression or other mental health conditions, they can often misinterpret information. His view is that their depression would alter their schemas. He believed that their schemas would be altered in a way that would confirm and highlight the more negative, depressed thoughts that they would have, but would then also ignore the information that would disprove some of these thoughts. This brings us to cognitive distortions. When we take in information and process it in a way that is inaccurate, Beck said that this is likely because of cognitive distortions. He felt that when people are frequently experiencing cognitive distortions, this is more likely to lead to depression, anxiety, and other mental health conditions. Not only that, but he felt that people who are struggling with their mental health are more likely to have distorted ways of thinking that result in them viewing themselves more negatively. We're not going to go into detail on specific cognitive distortions in this video, but if this is something you're interested in, please let me know in the comments. This leads us to some of the assumptions that are made in cognitive therapy. First, it's believed that our own internal communication, or the thoughts that we're having, are things that we can be aware of and focus on. A second assumption is that what a client believes is something that is personal to them, and these beliefs have specific and strong meaning to them based on their life. Third, it's believed that the thoughts that people have are things that they can discover the meaning of and information that they can make sense of, or that it's information that they can come to better understand at some point. With CBT, the goal is to help clients not only be more aware of the thoughts that they're having and to better understand these, but to also help them shift these thoughts into healthier ways of thinking. When it comes to true CBT, it's often a highly structured form of therapy. CBT tends to focus on the present and what is currently happening or what the current problems in a person's life are. That said, CBT does look at past events and how they may have influenced the person's way of being. There are various techniques that are used with CBT, and that could be a video all of its own, but one of those is Socratic questioning. This form of questioning helps clients challenge the ways of thinking that are not helpful to them. I hope that you found this video on Aaron Beck and CBT helpful. While you're here, make sure that you check out some of the other videos on my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.